Right now, I'm sitting in my office, staring at the sales report. $1 million in revenue. Yeah, a freaking $1 million. And it all started with something completely ridiculous. I accidentally bought a tiny island. No joke. I was scrolling through an online auction late at night just for laughs, saw a listing for a remote private property, thought it was like $5,000 or something stupid, clicked buy now almost as a joke. Next thing I know, I own an island. Less than half an acre, overgrown, full of bugs and random debris, no electricity, no water, just a small patch of sand and trees. Most people would have freaked. What the hell am I going to do with this? But not me. I thought, this is either going to be the dumbest purchase of my life or the beginning of something wild. Little did I know, it was the start of a $1 million adventure.
The morning after I realized I actually owned the island, I sat there with my laptop, staring at the map. Tiny speck of land in the middle of nowhere. No roads, no neighbors for miles. Just sand, trees, and the sound of the waves. I couldn't stop laughing. I literally bought an island as a joke. What am I going to do with this? Most people would have panicked. Property taxes, legal issues, maintenance, bugs, snakes, probably snakes. But me, I saw potential. A tiny island, completely private, could be a vacation spot, a rental, or a tiny getaway. And honestly, the thought of telling people I owned an island made me grin like an idiot. The first step? Go see it in person. Booked the cheapest flight I could find, took a tiny ferry with more life jackets than passengers, arrived to the island, and wow, it was worse than I imagined. Overgrown bushes taller than me, debris from old structures scattered everywhere, sand filled with rocks and broken bottles. The smell? A mix of salt water, decay, and mystery. But here's the thing, I didn't see junk, I saw opportunity. I started imagining tiny cabins, hammocks swinging between palm trees, tourists paying big bucks for an exclusive, private experience. I spent the day exploring, taking notes, snapping photos, every nook, every corner, every potential spot for a hut or a dock. I even found a small, natural freshwater stream tucked behind some rocks. By the time I got home, my mind was spinning. This could be a unique Airbnb rental, or a series of luxury tiny stays, or even a private retreat for influencers and content creators. And then I realized something. The island itself wasn't worth millions yet, but if I transformed it, marketed it, and created an experience, it could be. I started researching costs to clear land, building tiny eco-friendly cabins, how to get permits, how to get people to actually come to a random island in the middle of nowhere. People thought I was crazy. Friends, you bought what? Family, are you insane? Even strangers online laughed when I posted pictures. But I didn't care, because for the first time, I felt that spark of real possibility. Not just a hobby, not just flipping cars or random stuff, something big, unique, and scalable. And I knew one thing for sure. If I pull this off, it's going to change everything.
The first thing I did? I cleared a small area near the shore, grabbed some old tools I had lying around, cut back the overgrown bushes, pulled out trash and debris, built a tiny makeshift deck with a couple of wooden planks. It wasn't fancy. The wood was uneven, nails stuck out, waves splashed over the edges when the tide was high. But it was my start. I took pictures, posted them online, Instagram, Reddit, and a niche travel forum. Wrote a little caption, "Private Island Getaway for Rent. First one gets to test it." The response was shocking. Within 24 hours, I had 10 inquiries. People asking for weekend stays, influencers wanting to shoot content there. Someone even offered to sponsor the first visit. I thought, okay, this might actually work. Next step, build something livable. Got some cheap prefab tiny cabins delivered. My team and I lugged materials over with a small boat. Spent days hammering, painting, assembling. The first cabin wasn't Instagram perfect. Doors didn't close properly, some wood warped in the sun. Mosquitoes were a nightmare. But it worked. People could actually stay there. Then came the first guest. She was a travel blogger, paid a small deposit up front, arrived with cameras and high energy. She loved it, took pictures of every corner, posted videos of hammocks, sunrise views, and tiny cabins. Her post went viral in niche travel circles. Bookings started flooding in. I couldn't keep up, had to schedule stays carefully, built a small dock to make arrivals smoother. That's when I realized this was more than a fun side project. People actually valued the experience, and if I scaled it, I could turn this tiny island into $1 million business. But there were challenges too. Supplies and food delivery were tricky. Cleaning after guests took serious effort. Weather could ruin weeks of prep. Still, every small victory, every happy guest made me more confident. This wasn't just an accident anymore. I was running a real high-demand business. And the crazy part? I hadn't even started thinking about expanding to multiple islands yet. By now, my tiny island wasn't just a joke purchase anymore. It was becoming a full-blown business. After the first few guests left raving reviews, I realized I had something special. Private island, total privacy, tiny cabins with rustic charm, hammocks, sunrise views, and that untouched lost paradise vibe. I started making serious plans. Expand the number of cabins, add amenities like a small kitchen, solar panels, and fresh water filtration. Market it online aggressively using social media and travel blogs. But scaling wasn't easy. Every shipment of materials was a nightmare. Boats were tiny, weather unpredictable. I had to personally ferry everything from the mainland, sometimes multiple trips a day. Mosquitoes, ants, and random wildlife became a constant challenge. Still, I loved every second. Standing on the dock at sunrise, watching waves hit the shore, I felt like a king. This wasn't just money, it was creating something completely unique. Then came my first big breakthrough. I listed the island for premium weekend rentals at $5,000 per stay. The first month, fully booked within 48 hours. People were traveling from all over the country just to spend a weekend on my tiny island. I even got an inquiry from a well-known influencer. She wanted a full weekend for her content shoot, offered to pay double if I allowed filming and promotion. I started keeping meticulous records, booking rates, guest satisfaction, costs for maintenance and transportation. It wasn't long before I realized this isn't just a fun side hustle. This could actually make me millions. I decided to reinvent the business model. Offer themed retreats, yoga, digital detox, influencer content, romantic getaways. Partner with travel bloggers and small brands for sponsorships. Create limited availability, making it exclusive and desirable. And the response? Unreal. People were lining up months in advance. Every booking became a mini press release on Instagram. My tiny island was slowly becoming a brand, not just a place. But with growth came new challenges. Managing guest schedules, coordinating supplies and food deliveries, handling unexpected weather emergencies. Each problem was a learning experience, and slowly I built systems, a small team to manage check-ins and cleaning, partnerships with boat operators for reliable transport, scheduled maintenance and restocking routines. And then, one evening, I checked the numbers. Total revenue for the first 3 months, over $120,000. Net profit, more than I ever imagined from a tiny $5,000 investment into materials and small upgrades. I leaned back in my hammock, staring at the ocean, and whispered to myself, This is just the beginning. If I keep scaling, I could turn this into $1 million business. From here on, it was about replicating the model, building a brand, and turning my accidental purchase into a full-blown empire.
By the time I hit the 6th month of running my tiny island rental,
I realized I was onto something much bigger than I ever imagined. It wasn't just a random side hustle anymore, it was a real business with serious cash flow. Bookings were almost always full. Premium clients were paying $5,000 to $10,000 per weekend. Influencers and content creators were lining up, offering promotion deals. I started thinking bigger. Why limit myself to one island? There were tiny islands all over the place, many abandoned or cheap. If I could replicate this model, I could scale nationwide, maybe even internationally. But scaling meant serious work. First, I needed permits for all the new cabins and expansions. Second, I had to hire reliable staff for cleaning, maintenance, and guest support. Third, logistics. Food, water, and materials had to arrive on time, every time. The first few weeks of scaling were chaotic. A shipment of cabins got delayed due to a storm. One guest got upset because the solar shower didn't work. The generator broke mid-weekend, leaving a tiny crew scrambling. And yet, it worked. Guests raved about the experience. Social media exploded with posts and shares. My small Instagram account for the island grew from 500 followers to over 25,000 in just a month. Then came my first major partnership. A travel company approached me to feature the island in their exclusive luxury off-grid retreats program. They paid up front for 5 weekends of bookings. Added bonus, promotion to their audience of 100,000 plus potential guests. That weekend, I counted the money in my account. Just from bookings and the partnership, I made $85,000 in 1 week. Mind-blowing, considering I started with a $5,000 investment in materials and small cabins. But I didn't stop there. I had bigger plans. Create themed packages, yoga retreats, digital detoxes, romantic getaways, influencer content shoots. Build a referral system for guests and sponsors. Start a loyalty program for repeat visitors. I even started filming the restoration and setup process for social media. Time lapses of cabin builds, drone shots of the island, fun behind-the-scenes moments with my small team. Within 3 months, total revenue surpassed $350,000. Profit margins were higher than any business I had ever run. I started seriously thinking, this could be a $1 million brand in a year if I play my cards right. And here's the craziest part. Every guest I welcomed, every post I shared, every influencer collaboration added exponential value to the island. It wasn't just a business anymore, it was a lifestyle brand, a story, a unique experience people would pay top dollar for. I remember sitting on the main deck at sunset, sipping a beer, and thinking, all this started because I accidentally clicked buy now on a random online auction. And now, I'm building an empire. Little did I know, the next steps were going to be even bigger, riskier, and more profitable. By now, my tiny island experiment wasn't tiny anymore. I had multiple islands lined up for purchase, each one slightly bigger, slightly more remote, all of them perfect for exclusive retreats. I remember the first time I stepped on the second island. Overgrown jungle, rocks everywhere, no docks, no cabins, nothing but sand and sea. The potential was insane. I knew I couldn't do this alone anymore. Hired a full-time team for construction, maintenance, and guest services, partnered with local boat operators for reliable transport, started coordinating supply deliveries, food, water, and materials in advance. The scaling was chaotic at first. One shipment got delayed by a storm, one cabin's solar panels arrived broken, guests were complaining about delays and logistics. But I learned fast, built a detailed operations manual for each island, created a weekly schedule for maintenance and cleaning, trained staff to handle check-ins, check-outs, and emergency repairs. By the 3rd month of operating 2 islands, revenue exploded. Average bookings per weekend, $15,000 to $25,000 per island. Influencers kept promoting the islands. Social media followers skyrocketed, increasing demand even more.
I even experimented with exclusive packages, yoga retreats with a private chef, digital detox weekends with guided meditation, VIP influencer content stays with full photography support. One weekend, a single influencer stay brought in $50,000. They posted stories and reels from sunrise to sunset. Overnight, hundreds of new inquiries flooded my inbox. I realized something crucial. The islands themselves aren't just property, they're experiences people are willing to pay a fortune for. Soon, I had 3 islands running, each with 2 to 4 cabins, fully booked months in advance. Staff, schedules, and logistics all coordinated like a small empire. I checked my finances one evening. Total revenue from 3 islands in 6 months, over $600,000. Net profit, close to $500,000. My original $5,000 joke purchase had snowballed into something massive. And here's the wildest part. Guests were booking next year in advance. Brands were contacting me for sponsored stays. I was receiving inquiries from other island owners who wanted me to manage their properties. I sat on the deck of my main island one night, staring at the stars. The waves crashed quietly, the cabins glowed with soft lights. My team was setting up for the next weekend, and I thought, I went from accidentally buying a tiny island to creating a full-blown multi-island empire, and I'm not done yet. At that moment, I realized I was officially on the doorstep of my first million. All the risks, all the late nights, all the chaos, it was finally paying off. And the best part, I still loved every second of it. From here, it was about perfecting the system, building a brand, and finally hitting that $1 million mark.
I remember the day I realized it. I had officially made my first $1 million from islands I accidentally bought. Sitting on the deck of my main island, watching the sun dip below the horizon, I let it all sink in. From a $5,000 joke purchase on a random online auction, to a multi-island business generating 6-figure weekends, to a brand people were talking about on Instagram, YouTube, and travel blogs. It wasn't luck. It was late nights researching permits, early mornings clearing overgrown jungle, sweat, mosquito bites, sunburns, and endless problem solving. And above all, seeing opportunity where everyone else saw junk. I remember thinking back to the very first island. Tiny, overgrown, useless in everyone else's eyes, full of debris, broken structures, and mud. And yet, I saw possibility, a story, a dream. Scaling to multiple islands taught me lessons money can't buy. Systems are everything. Teamwork multiplies results. Marketing the experience, not just the property, is key. Exclusivity creates demand. And storytelling sells more than just cabins. It sells an escape, a fantasy, a lifestyle. By the time I checked my bank account that month, revenue from 3 islands alone over $1.2 million. Profit around $700,000, and all without taking a single vacation myself because I was building the empire. I leaned back in my hammock, beer in hand, staring at the stars. Waves lapping against the shore, soft lights glowing from the cabins, the faint hum of my small team working on the next project. And I realized something important. This isn't just about money. It's about creating something that didn't exist before. I smiled, thinking of all the people who laughed at me. Friends, you spent $5,000 on what? Family, an island? Really? Random strangers online. You're crazy. That'll never work. Now, they didn't just believe it. They envied it a little. And I didn't care because I had proven to myself that risk plus creativity plus hustle equals results. And the best part? The story was just beginning. I had ideas to expand internationally, start a small fleet of islands for private retreats, launch merchandise and content about the islands, and maybe even a YouTube channel showing everything from discovery to full-scale luxury retreats.
I remembered the first night I stepped on that tiny, overgrown island. The mosquitoes were eating me alive. I had no electricity, no running water, nothing but sand and sea. And yet, something in me whispered, this could be big. And it was. From a $5,000 purchase to $1 million plus in revenue. From an accident to a brand. From a joke to a life I had only dreamed of. I looked out at the horizon and I whispered to myself, I accidentally bought an island, and it changed everything. And the crazy part? This is just beginning.
Before you go, hit that like button and subscribe for more unbelievable stories just like this one. See you in the next story.